All right, viewers, welcome to another episode from Anything About Everything. I have one of my favorite guests, and he's back on my channel. Ranjan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me one more time, Raghu.
Of course, I love having you. And this time, the big news is Ranjan has two books published, The Awakening the Self and Awakening the Sun Within Your Heart. I finished reading this, an amazing book. I've learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot about the Vedas, the Kalas, and yoga. There were so many new things that I learned. And in fact, now the Kantara movie is making big noise.
Mm-hmm.
And he's used most, I wouldn't say exactly, but he's the concept that he has explained there,
Yeah.
it could be more clearer because I was reading this book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, first question is, who should be reading this book and who shouldn't be reading this book?
Who should not be reading this book? Personally, if you ask me, everyone should be reading this book, right? Even if you don't belong to the Hindu faith, the so-called Hindu faith, right? Knowing about how, you know, the impact of colonization or an invasion changes your day-to-day life and removes you off of your ancestry and your lineage and your connections is something that people can pick on, right? Now, who are the primary target audience? I would say people who think they are Hindus. I think they should start reading this because if I ask someone, why are you a Hindu, right? Their typical answer would be, oh, I was born a Hindu, right? Uh, sure, that is one way. But then after you're born, having birth is just one event of your life, right? After that, how much do you still ascribe to that? Do you just go to a temple because your parents have said, or do you go there because you truly understand why you have to go there? Or do you just go and worship to an idol because your parents have said to close your eyes and then just put your hands like this? Or do you know the reason behind it? Things like that, right? I think for someone who wants to get more connected back to their roots, this book would be a very good beginning. Again, I
Awesome.
want to emphasize on the beginning point, because encapsulating all of the Vedas, all of the Upanishads, all of the doctrines that we have into just one tiny book is an impossible task. And personally, one should not even do that because a book will only give you theoretical knowledge. This is something that you have to experience and inspect.
Yeah.
Right. So I think to know the fundamentals, this would be a pretty good book.
I definitely agree with you, like, especially the practical aspects, like how you talk about the breathing exercises, and when you do it in real time with chanting and with knowing, even as simple as the Om mantra that you've mentioned in the book, it's amazing,
Yeah.
right? Like at what breath and what do you experience with it? So it's amazing.
Correct.
What got you into writing, and what compelled you that you should be writing this book?
So that's a loaded question. See, because when I talk to people, right, it's often just limited to a certain range of people. It's like my friends of friends, or immediate family members, or people who know. That's it, right? But then the sheer population of people who want to know more right now in this age and time has increased exponentially, right? So it's not about trying to reach out to the audience, but it is about the audience wanting to reach out to this ancient knowledge and how do you make it accessible in an easy language, right? Because if you go to someone and if you ask them, they'll probably just talk about everything in Sanskrit, or you'll get like analysis paralysis at that point, right? So my goal was to make sure someone who is recently connected to the roots or has no knowledge about it gets a starting point about it. And for that, I was like, okay, what's the best way? I cannot keep like taking multiple classes because I teach classes on Saturdays and Sundays and Thursdays. But at some point, that's going to become exhausting, both to me and the resources, the finite resources are just going to like die out, right? So I wanted something that would be easily accessible for some.
Talking about finite resource, right? And I've attended your classes. Unfortunately, I couldn't follow through for various reasons. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Uh, so how, because that is a very intense class. When I say very intense class, what I loved about those classes is I was very regular for, I think, 8 sessions. And then, though it was called Bhagavad Gita classes, it was explanation of your daily routine, what is happening to people today, and how do you use that as a tool or an aid to overcome your obstacles or overcome what you're going through using that, right?
Yeah.
So how would you want to bring that to life? Are you planning to do like a series of books? Like, how would you want to do that? Because that is very, very practical. And I think this, I'm sure this one also would be useful for every single person, but that one from any age to any age. And we had people from like different ages.
Well,
It
we're
was
up to 65.
exactly
Yeah.
right. And everybody could relate to it in different ways.
Yeah.
So, how are you planning to bring that to life?
Um, you bring up a good point. Let's take Bhagavad Gita, right? The practicality and the beauty of the book is just amazing, right? It just goes on to like the very first chapter, right? Is titled Arjuna Vishada Yuga, right? It's like a person who's extremely depressed, who doesn't want to do anything. In fact, he's contemplating suicide at that point, right? And to lift him up from that situation and then to walk him through the path of liberation and then finding liberation, not just by like, shutting off himself, but still doing in his day-to-day tasks, in his duties, following his dharma. That is the potential of Bhakti, right? Now, we are not Arjunas, but we still have our own duties and obligations to, our family or, to the apartment bills or whatever it is, right? How do you find your liberation through these mundane tasks? Because after a point, it's like you've been in the industry for like what, 15 years now, right? It's like, is it all just the same work? You lose motivation at that point, right? So how do you find that freshness? How do you still stick to that path with everlasting inquisitiveness or curiosity, right? To the point where it makes you like, oh man, when I'm doing my work, I just get immersed in it. I'm just taken aback, and a part of Raghu doesn't exist, and then totally into it. That ekagrata, that one-pointed focus, right? Bhagavad Gita is that kind. Unfortunately, what our um, previous generations, not all, a few of them have done is reduce this book to its presence only when someone dies in the book. And I was like, this book teaches you how to live, and you've reduced it to a tape recorder playing when you go to someone's funeral, right? And my essential part of these trainings was bring it back, and make it relatable to what a person is doing in their day-to-day life. Now, again, how do I, make it widely accessible to everyone? I think is through books, and fortunately, I have friends like you, so through podcasts as well.
I would definitely want to do like I don't know if I mean I'm open for suggestion too. This might be too much information, but I want to do a spin-off like because I feel there's so much like essence to it. Like we should do episode by episode, just like class by class. Even if I can record it, I would love to, or just do one-on-one the same classes. But even if not, if nobody is there, like if I go back from 10 years, 15 years and just go back and look at that, I have so much to take away from it.
Yeah.
So there's also a selfish aspect that I want to do it.
Absolutely, we'll definitely do
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And you mentioned about idol
Yeah.
worship,
Yeah.
right? I based on what I have read, there is few things that I know about idol worship, why it came into play. So why do we do idol worship? What is your take on it? Why do we have idol worship where we go, like in Hinduism, you go to a temple, there's an idol and you worship that? What is the theory behind that?
Okay. This is an excellent question, right? What is the word for idol in Sanskrit? It's called vigraha.
Vigraha.
Right.
Okay.
If you look at that word, okay, graha is again something to do with seeing, right? And why do they emphasize so much? If you remember in our podcast, we went back to bandha, drishti, and asana, right? If you go to a place where there is no idol, okay, your mind is just going to spin along directions. Now you're going to look at the color of the wall, every single thing, right? You won't be able to get that one-pointed focus, right? So if you instead have like an idol, okay, which is set up in a light up setting, with like two, what do you call diya, right, or candle flame or something like that, right? There is something that your vision is automatically drawn. So you find that moment of contemplation, or moment of deep meditation with that. In fact, it's called trataka. That is the exact word that we use, right? It's like you lit up a candle flame and just gaze at the flame. That's it, right? And when you take the vigraha aradhana, right? Aradhana is like prayer or worship, right? Vigraha is like I said, when you're looking at an idol, okay, And when you combine these two aspects of contemplation and then giving a form to the deity, right, you're now able to achieve that relatability, right? To put it in simple terms, if at all, if you never knew my face, what Ranjan looks like, right? And Ranjan is just written in books, okay? Would you be able to successfully claim that Ranjan is a personal deity of mine?
It's very difficult. I would just create a like a weird, like I wouldn't say weird, like a just image of okay, this is in Ranjan avatar. Like something is going to come up to my head.
Right?
Yeah.
Essentially, to remove those barricades, we have Vigraha. Yeah.
Makes sense. Interesting. Going back to my questions.
And for all the viewers, Raghu has done a lot of due diligence. He's made a bunch of questions from the book that he wants to ask. So you're getting full worth back of your time and effort listening to this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Like it's really awesome. And then I have so many questions, and I catered all my questions for even people who read the book will definitely have some takeaway listening to this podcast. So you speak about mantras, right? Like I've chanted mantras in I went to a boarding school even before eating. We had Annapurne, Sadapurne, Shankara Pranavallabhe. So we used to just chant it, right? Okay, let's get it done. So you bring up a very interesting point about mantras and its pronunciation and how it has to be pronounced.
Yeah, yeah.
So why I've read the book, but why is it so important?
So even before we go to the concept of mantras, right, we have to understand about Sanskrit, right? Because it is in Sanskrit that we have all the mantras written, right? And the origin of mantras happens through Shiva,
Correct.
right? Because he's the one who is there's this concept of okay, this is a secret doctrine, so I cannot talk about it much. But if you understand Sanskrit, there is something called swaras, okay, which are the vowels, okay, and vyanjans, which are the consonants, okay, and then you have ushna, which is the heat producing ones, okay. The swaras, okay, they start from the letter a to correct, okay, the build, okay, and then the journey goes like a, e, u, e, o, au, a. Okay. So your mantra, Om, okay, it actually starts from the letter A and ends with that bindu of Okay. Okay. So the mantra of Om is the swara, technically speaking, right? It is for self-realization. Okay. If you understand the word swa is the self. Okay. And ra is the sound. It is the sound of the self. Okay. So your mantra, when you actually know how to do it and everything, right? It originates in the mind. Man. Okay. Manyaka kyayate iti mantra. That one thing, the sound which originates in the mind, okay, is the mantra. Okay. Now, there are different places where the sounds originate. Okay.
Yes, okay.
In the body. Okay. And when it comes out of your mouth, okay, it comes out from different places. Like akuhasa visarjanayanam khanta. Okay. So the ka sounds, right? They originate from the khanta, from the throat. Okay. And then there's like verses from Maheshwara Sutrani. Okay, it's another beautiful doctrine. And then where he says, which sounds originate from the the tongue pressing the teeth, and which one goes from like the reflexes, which one comes from the nasal sounds, which one comes from the throat, and everything, right? So it is very important for a person who wants to delve deeper into this to understand, because there's a strong connection between the mantras and the mudras. Okay, because for certain aspects of focus and for certain aspects of kriya, you have to roll your tongue back. Okay, and for certain things, you just open your mouth wide. Okay, because it takes you into that contemplative state again. So that's the thing. Now, that is the very basic part of it. Now you have something called the elaborated mantras. Okay, and this has to be chanted in a certain pattern called chandas or chanda or the meter. Okay, it tells you exactly how many syllables would be there in that mantra. Okay, and then where you have to rise it up and where you have to bring it down. Okay, and when you're not doing it the right way, the meaning of the mantra changes. To give a small example, If I said Mahagyani, okay, what's your interpretation of that?
Mahagnani, that means who's very well versed with intellectual knowledge.
Okay. If I use the word Agyani,
Literally opposite of
opposite. So now if I combine Maha and Agyani, it is still Mahagyan.
that. Yeah, okay.
See,
Yeah.
the context changes completely. So you have to understand where to release the pause and then where to rise it. Okay. Otherwise, your mantra is not valid.
Mhm.
Because now if you say Mahagyani, right? It means you're a great fool. You don't want to do that. Mahagyani is the right way to say it. So things like that. Yeah.
Makes sense. So that's why the pronunciation is so important.
Yes.
So I'll give you certain. I wanna. I have read it,
Mhm.
so I'll give you certain situations, and I want my viewers like to take certain mantras, like if they're in certain situations, what mantras they can tell.
Mhm.
So when I wake up in the morning, what is the first mantra that I have to tell for anyone and everyone?
I would say the first mantra that one can start with is a Ghor mantra.
What is that?
Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but it is a mantra of protection,
Okay.
right? You chant it like 10 times, and then it protects you from a lot of things.
Okay, a Guru
A
mantra.
Ghor.
Okay. So I was thinking, I personally thought for me, at least, I would say Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaya.
Yes, that will also work.
Right?
Yeah.
Remove any obstacles that
Yes.
is there.
Yeah.
If I am feeling very, very depressed, I'm going through a lot. And it doesn't have to be like great depression, which is happening like for 10 days. Like say I'm working and my project is not going as per anticipation and I'm hitting the deadlines and my boss is not understanding and people think or my boss thinks I'm incompetent.
Mhm.
So how do I come out of that funk? What is the mantra that you would suggest?
I want to first emphasize on one thing important, right? There is this beautiful verse in Telugu. Okay, it's called Mantralaki Chintakal Rao. Okay, it means just because you're chanting the mantra, the fruit is not going to fall in your lap.
Okay.
Okay, you have to put your action.
Okay.
You have to do your duty. Only then the mantra is going to work.
Correct.
Okay. So for all the viewers, just because you're going through a situation, let's chant this mantra.
It has to
still didn't work out, right? You have to do your due diligence. You have to do your work and everything, and that's when the mantra is going to act.
Yeah.
It's now the situation that you gave, right, is well, I'm putting in all my effort. I'm still not able to see the results, right? At that point, I would personally, if you ask me, Ganesh mantra.
Same Vakratunda Mahakaya.
Yes.
Okay.
That or the Bija mantra, right? Om Gam Ganapati.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is helpful. If I am very anxious, in this book you mentioned about like present, past, and future. So
Yeah.
past, when I'm thinking about future and I'm thinking about results, like
Yeah.
I'm always anxious.
Yeah.
So when I'm in that situation, is there a mantra that will bring me back to the present? Like put my
Absolutely. Mahakala.
Mahakal mantra.
Yes. It's like when you look at it, right? Time is not it's not a linear thing. It's a cyclical thing, right? And who's the one who's the embodiment of the entire time itself? Who's the master of time? Who created time, right? It is Mahakala or Shiva in the form of Mahakala, right? We have one of the mantras of Mahakala in the book as well.
Yes.
And what you need to do at that point is you have to just again, like I said, just chanting the mantra is not going to change things, right? You have to understand that the past is a dream. You will still need to wake up from it.
Yeah.
And the future is an illusion. You can't live in it. Right? So you have to bring yourself into the present moment. There is no other way for you to succeed in life. No, absolutely no other way. You can plan as much as you want, right? But how do you know that the next moment is actually going to arrive for you? Your plans are all futile. Your plans need to evolve. They need to redevelop every single moment. Right? And for that, when you say the plan needs to develop every single moment, you have to be present in that every moment. Otherwise, your plans are useless. So for someone who's feeling anxious or someone who's like, had to go through something in the past and are still feeling depressed about it, right? Bring yourself back into the present moment.
Present.
And how do you bring yourself into the present moment? Breath. Breath is one thing that is only happening in this moment. Nothing else is happening in this moment.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, this is just like there's so many mantras and everything is very it might sound like I'm creating an like what do you call it, an advertisement about this book,
Yeah.
but I'm not. I'm genuinely like so excited reading this, and I had to read it in I take my time to read it, but this one I had to swallow it and just understand it and reread it as well because I wanted to gain some knowledge through it, and it's really phenomenal. So for the people who reads this, like there's so many mantras for so many situations. And Ranjan, also you mentioned about the breathing stuff.
Yeah.
And there's also breathing mudras and how you breathe and for what situation and how it's going to help you. So everything is like very well practically written in this book.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know. I didn't know that this was out and you let me know. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was amped up. I wanted to talk about the link between yoga and yoga.
Okay.
So I have read it, but I want you to re-explain it.
Yeah. If you ask an average practitioner of yoga, right, uh, what is yoga, right? They probably would fumble upon the answer, right? Yoga, in its purest form, from a definition perspective, just means union.
Union.
Yeah. Okay. What is that union? The union of you with Paramashiva, okay, or your extremely highest self. Okay. And then we have yuga. Okay. Yuga is a measurement of time, but it is through this time. Okay. Imagine like Shiva is like the center of the entire universe. Okay. Everything else is revolving around him. Okay. And when you're revolving around something in an elliptical pattern, right? There will be points when you're further away, and then there will be points that are close. Okay. And then so the yuga, okay, the closer you are to Shiva, okay, the higher is your enlightenment, the higher is your consciousness, the higher is your awareness. The farther you're away from him, right? So the lesser all of these factors are. Okay. So in one way, both the words yuga and yoga, okay, are talking about you. Okay. It's just that from a time perspective, in the yuga that you are in, okay, yoga becomes easy or difficult for you because you are further away or closer. That's all.
Awesome. Very well.
I've super simplified it. Okay. Obviously, you have like so many metrics of time. Okay. Yuga is just one thing, right? And then you have to go into the concepts of manmantra, kalpa. Okay. All of these things come into play. And it's going to become so technical so quickly that people might get confused about it. Because to explain it in a simple way, okay, one day of Brahma, okay, is so infinitely long, okay, that the creation or the of a yuga and the dissolution of a yuga will happen at just one day. And then that is a part of Vishnu's, Sri Mahavishnu's metric. And Sri Mahavishnu's metric is a part of Shiva's metric. Okay. So it goes on, like it starts building up, incrementally from that. Yeah.
That's how time is
Yes.
measured there.
Yes.
And you bring up very important point of yoga. And even Joe Rogan talks about in his podcast about Kali Yuga, and he mentions like how different yugas that the Hindu mythology have spoken about it. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. So there's different yugas, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. Each yuga has each yuga ends when there's too much adharma in it or too much. What is the other word for adharma? English term for adharma?
I think we could say injustice.
Injustice.
Yeah.
Too much injustice, and then there is Lord takes a form. It can be different form,
Yep.
and he comes down to put end to that yuga, and next yuga starts.
Correct.
Correct. So can we talk about what was the first yuga?
First yuga is called Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga.
Satya yuga or Krita yuga. Okay.
And in this yuga, right, it was the creation happening itself. So pretty much no one, at least from the books and everything, right, no one even had the necessity to talk. They could just look at you and they could understand exactly what you were going through and everything. Right? Because their awareness and their consciousness was like so high. Okay. And after that is like the Treta Yuga.
Yeah, let's go back to Satya Yuga.
Yeah.
How did Satya Yuga end, and what was the?
How did Satya Yuga end? I already answered that question.
Okay.
I can take that back as homework for myself. Okay. But some people say that when the creation happened, right? There was an asura, okay, called he stole the Vedas essentially, because the
Asura
Vedas
is a Asura is a demon.
demon.
Okay.
Okay. And so when the entire creation was itself created, as we know, the manifested creation, right? Um, you have to just have like an instruction pamphlet, just like when you get a new book, I guess. And that was the Vedas for us, okay, on how to the conduct of living. Okay, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, and all of these things, right? And someone who would, let's just say that you have a brand new iPhone, okay, and there's only the first model iPhone developed, okay, and someone steals that along with the instruction manual and everything and erases the code from the Apple database. Now he has the sole proprietorship over it, right? And that kind of technology would never be released to the entire masses, right? So at that point, when this demon stole all these Vedas and everything, Sri Mahavishnu had to come in, and then interestingly, this is pretty much the same even with Christianity. Right? He had to flood the entire, creation, and then he will say, okay, you take a boat, you take like 7 kinds of every single thing, put it in that, and then go to a certain place, and then I'm going to flood and recreate the whole thing again, right? Um, Christians call it the Noah's Ark, right? And then we call it the Matsya Avatar, right? And so that's how that ends, and then the new dawn.
So after Satyuga is Treta Yuga.
Is the Treta Yuga. Okay. The most prominent avatar of Treta Yuga is Sri Ramchandra, right? And then the Asura is Ravana at that point, right? I don't know if we have to go into Ramayana, but
No, no. Yeah, that's fine. So Rama and Ravana. But interesting take on that is the Ravana is the Asura. But there are certain books or certain like perceptions that I've heard that Ravana also was a good person. Ravana also had positive to it. Why do we make him Asura, and why do we say that he was the injustice that the Lord had to come and put an end to it?
See, I think that is inherently every human being. We all have positives and negatives, right? It's like which guna is overtaking or which characteristic overtakes, right? And then how you start acting when that characteristic takes over. He might be a wonderful person, but does he have a right to, you know, um, torture other people? Does that automatically supersede everything else? No, it does not. People want to, glorify every single aspect of it. That is up to their own, perception. I would not, get into that part. But then when a person has exceeded his injustice to a limitless, place, and where he is like the sole controller and he thinks he can occupy anything and everything, then that's the doomsday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is Treta Yuga, and
then we have Dwapara.
Dwapara Yuga.
Dwapara Yuga is the mighty Mahabharata, right? It is Sri Krishna Paramatma at this point.
The Bhagavad Gita part.
It is the Bhagavad Gita part. It is the Bhagavad Gita part, right? And then there's a very interesting series that you'll see, right? First, in the first Yuga, it was the knowledge that, the good and the bad was fighting over, right? And then when it came to Treta Yuga, okay, now it has reduced to a woman, okay, or clash of the egos, right? And then in the Dwapar Yuga, okay, now it is partially for a woman and land, essentially for kingdom. And then in Kali Yuga, there are no more demons.
This is Our Yuga. Kali Yuga is Our Yuga. Dwapara Yuga, and then Kali Yuga is Our Yuga.
Kali Yuga is the Yuga we are in. Right? There are no external demons. The battle is all inside your head. You are fighting your own self. You have to win every single day.
Yeah. This was the big key takeaway when why I wanted to bring you guys is it's phenomenally written in the book where it goes from external to internal. That was really amazing. And when I think about it, I'm like, so true. Like in let's start with Treta Yuga, where it was between two people and it was for a third person. And then when you come to Dwapara Yuga, it was Ramayana, where the cousins fought the battle. It's the same family.
Correct. That is the Dwapara Yuga.
Dwapara Yuga. Yeah. Dwapara Yuga. And then when it comes to Kali Yuga, we don't have any it'll get more internal. It's within you, right?
And then the values are also decreasing, right? And in the first Yuga, right, it was, Mahavishnu was somewhere up in the heaven, and then this demon steals all the knowledge, all the Vedas, and he goes into the ocean, the deepest point of the ocean, right? The distance between the good and the evil was so high, right, that they had to cross over multiple planes and fight, right? And then in the Treta Yuga, right, Ramayana, it's the India and Sri Lanka at this point. The distance has reduced, right? And then in Dwapara Yuga, right, it's in the same family. It is happening in the same home, right? And in Kali Yuga, it is happening in your mind. There's no external place either. There's no external place, no external demon, nothing. It's all happening inside your mind. So the one who's able to control his mind in this yuga, okay, has won. It's that simple.
Yeah, there's an amazing quote. It says, "He who knows everything knows nothing. He who knows nothing is trying to know stuff, and one who knows himself is kind of knows everything."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So knowing oneself or controlling oneself is very, very important. So just curious. So every yuga, so when the injustice happens, the injustice is destroyed. So if the injustice is within us, how does Kali Yuga end? Like, is it destruction of us ourselves? Like, what is it?
Yeah. It is destruction of the self.
So if I have only goodness in me, I mean, there's nobody who has goodness, at least that I think of. So everybody is destroyed. That's how Kali Yuga ends.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Because in the Kali Yuga, again, from our scripture perspective, we have like a demon called Kali, and then Kalki Avatar comes in, right? And then it's also going to tread on the lines of controversy, right? But then Kali's empire, along with his two sons, it rises from a place called Gozan, okay? Very identical to the modern day Gaza. Yeah. And then Kalki Avatar, he comes in from Shambhala, which is in the Himalayas, and it's a mystical place in the Himalayas, right? And then the battle happens between these two, right? Now, how do we see that, right? My personal take on it is, let's say there are so many protests happening, right? How many people know what they're protesting for? If you don't even know what you're protesting for, why are you even protesting?
Right.
Right? That's a decremented mind. That's an illusion mind, right? They don't even know what they are, and that translates into propaganda. That is now the new cool factor, right? And everyone is just following something without knowing the full depth of what they're supposed to follow, and then it destroys it. Yeah. Just look at the way the protests were happening back in like 1940s. Okay, when let's just take the example of Mahatma Gandhi, right? The protests were peaceful at that point, right? And then from that point till 2025, if you see how protests are happening, there's a lot of violence coming. I'm not saying that earlier it was not there, right? But then marching on the streets in the name of protest and then destroying, like, any shops or stores, or destroying someone's livelihood, or setting cars ablaze and things like that. How is that protest? Because your voice is heard, but not to the government, but to the person who's incurred the loss. You've destroyed someone's livelihood. And if that is what you're calling protest, sorry, it's not protest, it's detest.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's happening all over the place. Where is one place where protests are not happening right now?
That's true. Yeah. And what is the timelines of Kali Yuga ending?
So Kali Yuga is supposed to be there for 432,000 years.
Okay.
Okay.
In
It's
our
the
time.
shortest of yugas.
In our time.
Yes, it is
Okay.
the shortest of yugas, right? And right now we are somewhere in like the 4,000 year. So there's so much more time.
So much more time.
Oh yeah, like more than 300, more than almost close to 400,000 years for Kali Yuga.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is the Yuga after Kali Yuga?
It'll go back to Sati.
So it's a
cycle again. Yeah.
So then again, it's going to be Satya Yuga. But when this cycle happens, is it still going to be the same demons like repetitive, or it's going to be like
Could change.
it could change?
It could change. Yeah.
Okay. And then it is said in the book, I believe, or maybe I've read in some other book, we all are a dream of Vishnu. If I'm correct?
In one way.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the lineage that I belong to, right, is we all are Shiva himself. We just
Shiva
don't know it. We are unaware of the fact. And when you become aware, you become Shiva, or you become Bhairava.
Is that where Aham Brahmasmi comes from?
In one way, in one way. Aham Brahmasmi is from the Vedas, right? It's there's something called the Chatur Mahavakya, or the four great sayings, right? And Aham Brahmasmi is the last one. Before that, there is something called Prajnana Brahman. The right knowledge is me.
The right knowledge is me.
Yeah.
It takes me to like a little bit of Rene Descartes' philosophy. Cogito ergo sum.
Yeah.
I think therefore I am.
Yep. And therefore I am. Yep.
Okay.
Prajnana Brahman. And after that is I am Atman Brahman, right? It is my soul is the Lord, right? And then I can't remember the third one right now, but then the last one is Aham Brahmasmi. So the point is, it's a journey. Yeah, you have to gain the right knowledge, and then you realize that okay, I'm not just the body. I'm actually a soul, which doesn't, get into any of this nonsense, right? And then finally, you realize I am that uncontaminated God Himself. Yeah. But then nowadays, from a fashion perspective, everyone's like, "Oh, Brahmasmi." I'm like, no, you're not Brahmasmi. You're Bhasmasmi.
In the book, you mentioned about Jyotirlinga.
Yeah.
And how it is like like placed in the center of the world or the earth
Of India.
of India.
Yes. It's the Ujjain Mahakaleshwar, right? And it's like the problem of most of the people is they just go to the temples and then they don't understand why a temple is built in that specific location, or what was the historical significance, or what's the cultural significance, or spiritual significance, scientific significance, architectural. Like there's so many factors that would come into play. You can just get mesmerized when you go to the temples, especially the ancient temples. Ujjain Mahakaleshwar is one such temple, right? It is at the perfect center meridian of India.
Center.
Yes. So it is from this point that all the panchangas are developed. They tell you exactly what time the sunrise happens, the sun sets,
Wow.
when the planets are going to align themselves and everything. All of those calculations are made from Ujjain Mahakaleshwar, right? And it makes perfect sense. It's Kaleshwar. It is time, and how do you decode like all the astronomical factors and everything? The precision factor over there is time, and then that's the reason why it's called Ujjain Mahakaleshwar. Yeah.
Wow. So again, when I think about like, or when my friends talk to me about India, the first question they ask is like, "Have you been to Taj Mahal?" I've never been to Taj Mahal, and nothing against it. My parents were not travelers, but I feel India is just not Taj Mahal. There's so much to it. Just me being from Karnataka, like we have Belur Halebeedu, which has immense history to it. There's Hampi.
Yep.
And all of them, like you said, has a strong significance in terms of like architecture,
Yep.
the history to it. Is there any other temple that you want to mention which has like strong significance?
I would say if you go to there's this Surya Narayana temple, right? In it's a place called Srikakulam near Andhra Pradesh, right? And it's really fascinating to just get to that place, because when you get to that place and then the way the sun rays fall on the idol on specific date, right? It's like, how did they know this? So back in the day itself. Like, unless you're like a genius, a mathematical genius, and you had like, even if you were a mathematical genius, calculating like every single thing from the planetary perspective and everything is just phenomenal.
And how old is this temple?
Ooh, I don't even know. Don't even know. Right? And the temple is the Konark temple. Now Konark temple has become more of a cultural and visitor center. But then all of these the precision calculations and everything, right? They were happening at the Konark temple at one point. And then the famous Jantar Mandir, right? That was commissioned by the Maharaja of Jaipur, I think, back in the day, right? And he had to get like Vedic pundits and everyone and say, hey, I need like a device which is going to calculate the exact time based upon the sun rays. That's how they commissioned that one. Right? Yeah. But everyone wants to go see a burial ground instead and then get floored by marbles. Sure. You might get this. But that's not to give credit to the people who built the Taj Mahal or anything, right? It's a phenomenal, construction. But at what cost is what people have to understand. If you understood the dark history of Taj Mahal, right? You'd be like so sick to your core. Shah Jahan, after the construction was done, every single construction worker's hands and limbs were chopped off.
Is that true though? I
Yes.
thought it was.
When you think about it, this is the guy who imprisoned his own parents. Why would you be surprised if he did? Like, if I didn't have like other connectivity points, right? If I told you, hey, I'm going to, put my own mother in like a cell and everything, would you not take this into consideration and pay?
Yeah, yeah.
It's that simple.
And wasn't he also present by his son Aurangzeb, right?
Everything in that lineage is pretty
Right.
much the same. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. So when I talk about history, there's so much distortion to history. I was watching Braveheart yesterday, and the first phrase of the movie is history was not written by like the heroes. History was written by the people who murdered heroes. Like something like that,
Yeah.
right? And it's about have you watched Braveheart?
I did. Mel
William
Gibson, right?
Wallace. Yeah, Mel
Yep,
Gibson.
yep.
It's one of my top
Yes.
favorite movies. So in that, Graham Hancock, the author, he talks a lot about how history has been distorted.
Yep.
And then for us, Indian author that I really love, last episode, I did look up the name and I couldn't find the name. And I think I used the wrong name. Again, nothing to take away from Devdutt Patnaik. Phenomenal. He explains so many Hindu Vedas in business and stuff. But what I was referring to was Amish Tripathi.
Amish Tripathi.
Or Amit Tripathi.
Amit Tripathi. The Immortals of Meluha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His podcast with Ranveer, the beer bicycle guy, and he talks how history was like misstarted, like how history was destroyed.
Absolutely.
And he talks about how I don't know. He mentions about a British like minister who they quote as one of the famous guys, but he's killed so many Indians, and how they have completely destroyed the history. And it's a phenomenal episode.
Yeah.
So many temples, right? I think we fail to understand because there's no history or significance that we were taught to it, right?
Yeah.
And what is the best way to learn these things and still go back to the roots? Like, how do we, if I want to do it, how do I do it?
People say there's this beautiful book called Flights of the Deities, I think.
Let's,
Yeah. I have to double check the name of the book. That's like an eye opener. It talks about all the destroyed temples and everything. But the best way to do it is go visit the temples, go visit them, and then see the plight that they are in. Okay. And then ask the local people, saying, hey, what happened to it? What is the history of this temple and everything? They are the ones who will give you the accurate descriptions, not the guy who talks about it as a sixth standard course syllabus because they have an agenda.
so in the book, you mention about the decline of Dharma, where the God takes an avatar and stuff. And you mentioned two important points of cosmic decline and consciousness decline.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned about you mentioned we are the victim of circumstances.
Yes.
So can you elaborate more on that? I want to know more on that.
Okay. So let's just say that you were in Mumbai, okay, during the 26/11 attack, and you were going to just visit. Mumbai is not your hometown. You just went there to visit and then just tour and then see the place, okay? And then for some reason, your friend calls you and then asks you to come to a hotel, Taj, at that point, right? What is the odd that you actually made that choice to go there?
There's zero odds because
Right?
Yeah.
But you happen to be over there, right? So if you be there, if you are going to be there, right? Are you not becoming a part of that circumstance that you created?
yes,
Okay. Now let's explore the word circumstance itself. Okay. I'm a kind of fascinated by linguistics, right? Circum, when you think about it, right? Um, circumference. Okay. It's a something that draws you. Okay. You're engulfed in it. Okay. So now if I ask you, Raghu, okay, how are you doing? Right? You might just say, I'm doing good, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm fantastic, or anything, right? But that Raghu is placed in he's giving me the response from that circumstances which has engulfed him in a circle,
okay,
right?
in
But
that moment.
in that moment,
Okay.
okay. But neither those circumstances nor that particular moment defines who Raghu is.
Correct. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So the moment you get out of that, or the moment you realize that, right, you become unbreakable.
Oh.
Because you are not defined by your circumstances anymore. You know that no matter what you do, okay, circumstances are just going to happen. You're just going to embrace them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're always going to be defined by your circumstances.
Okay.
Was I able to answer your question?
You kind of did. So this is my key takeaway, right? If I'm reacting to circumstances, then I'm a victim of it. But if I am not reacting to it, just absorbing and just moving on,
Yeah.
is that accurate?
One way.
Okay.
Not just reacting, I would go as far as saying identifying or
Okay.
attaching.
Any circumstance?
Any circumstance.
You
Good
cannot
or bad.
you cannot attach yourself to what if I accomplish something big?
How long is that accomplishment going to stay?
So how would I unidentify from that?
Knowing your true self. Saying that I'm not going to be here forever.
Okay.
Right. Let's just say tomorrow this book becomes a number one, bestseller of New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long will it be number one bestseller for?
A week or 15 days,
right?
Until the next number one.
And how long will I hang on to that? And if you are hanging on to that, right, then you're living a world of illusion.
No, but isn't that such an even if it's for 15 days, you'll be tagged as an author who had a book number one selling. Let's talk about like what New York number one bestseller, right? Even if it happens for a day or 3 days or whatever,
Yeah.
the tag is going to be with you. So isn't that amazing that you can carry it on?
But what good is it doing to me other than increasing my own ego?
Just you might go back and think that this is what I was capable of.
Okay. But capability is not fundamentally on those numbers. Capability fundamentally lies within me or my ability to write. It's not just because New York Times says, okay, 1 million copies sold or he's the best author, that doesn't make anything to me. I should be the one who's fundamentally going to get happiness from the way I write. Right? But just because someone else gives me that tag or that circumstance gives me a tag or I identify it, it's not going to last. It's a very minor thing. How long will anyone stay for?
So if that's the case, what is happiness according to you?
Doing exactly what you want to do.
How much are we really doing what we want to do in this day and era? Like, aren't we all present by so many things in terms of responsibility, work, and
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. But then I can confidently say, right? I told my mom a long time ago that I was going to write a book. Okay. Just like anything else, people are like, this is another passing statement. They don't take it seriously, right? But this is something that would make me happy. So I didn't write it for the number of sales it would make or number of people reading it or anything, right? I wanted to write a book. I wrote it. That's it.
so there's no metrics that's going to make you happy. It's just the action.
Actually,
It's beautiful that you say that. And I am you're a fan of Upendra. I'm a fan and follower of Upendra. In one of the interviews, he said something, and it's amazing. It was about Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
So he said in Bhagavad Gita, I forgot the phrase. He mentions the phrase too. He's like, forget about the result. You do your work,
Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana.
right?
Yeah.
And like he sits and he himself thinks, it seems like, how is it possible? Like anything that I do, if I direct a movie, I want it to be commercial success, then I'll get the next movie.
Yeah.
Or I want the audience to come and laugh. So I'm trying to think of the result. Right. And everything, like if I have to go somewhere, I'm thinking, okay, I have to reach there at this time. So I'm thinking of the result. He's like, why did he say that? Like I'm so contemplating. And then he says, like what he mentioned was exactly what he said. Like, don't think of the result. The result is only the work.
Yeah.
That thing that you put in, that is the result. Don't think the result is there.
Right.
And once he realized that, it was very beautiful for him, it seems. So it's exactly like you reminded me of that.
It is. And to give that as an example, right? The book is going to give numbers. But the book, right, for me to write a book itself is the result. It's the result of the knowledge that I've gained over a period of time. Right. So now I'm looking for a result of a result, which is ridiculous. You see what I'm saying? It's like I gained this knowledge. How do I translate this knowledge in the most beautiful way that I can? And that is the result. And that is this book, right? Now, if I'm latching on to a result of what this result is going to give, right? Life, unfortunately, is not everything in life is not compound interest. It doesn't work that way, you know. So I think that's what most people are um, latched on to. Okay. For example, you go to college, you get your degree. Okay. The purpose of going to a college is not to get the degree; it is to get the knowledge. Okay. Because your degree, if you let's say you aced it, okay, you're like your university topper at that, okay, but if you don't land a job, okay, what good is the degree? Correct. It's absolutely useless at that point. Okay. Now, but we don't stop there. The moment we get the degree, we go to a job. Okay. And once we get a job, we are actually not looking for the job. We are looking for the paycheck. Correct. We are looking for a byproduct of a byproduct. And then you look for promotion. You look for another byproduct, right? So how long will you keep searching for the byproducts of every other byproduct? It's perpetual confusion. It is perpetual disappointment, right? I would say you just do look for that single focused byproduct and then live in that happy moment. That's it. And after that, you've done your work, you've done it to your best abilities. Let nature take care of it. Yeah. So, uh, knowing this also, I stumble upon few things, right? And which makes me unhappy. Sometimes it makes me happy, and I'm still the thing. Can I say the same thing about Ranjan? Is Ranjan always like on par with these, or does Ranjan also feel like I feel a lot of things. But then the moment I feel it, right? I think what happens when you read these scriptures and everything, the moment you see or feel a little imbalance, right? You can go back to that self of yours. Think about it like a GPS. Okay. You've already used this GPS, you know the directions and everything. Okay. Maybe not exactly the same spot, but then if someone said, hey, how do I go to Hyde Park from here? Okay. You might not exactly know how to go to Hyde Park, but then you have like a rough sense of directions and
on the
everything.
northwest side from here, about a mile.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of this knowledge is also like that. Whenever you're getting into a place of imbalance or something, okay, you go into that direction zone and then you're like, okay, I got my stability found. And when that goes to an extreme level, okay, and then when you totally surrender to your teachers and everything, there is nothing you need to worry about. Absolutely nothing. Um, I truly believe, okay, and this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, that nothing is actually going to happen to you. What do you mean nothing is going to happen to you? Like, any great thing is not going to happen to you. Any greatest calamity is not going to happen to you. Right? It is happening to this body, or it is happening to a situation that I'm in at that point. Right? But personally, to Ranjan, okay, if his name even exists, okay, because even that is a label that is given to us, right? But personally to me, okay, nothing is ever going to happen. I have a life and I'm living. That's it. Nothing else other than that. So what is life according to you if that is the case? I have my own thing for it, but again, inspired by Upendra. But what is your life is a combination of consciousness and energy. Consciousness and energy. Okay. Can you That is elaborate a little more? What is consciousness and what is energy? Consciousness is your ability to, how do you explain consciousness, man? That's a very difficult concept. You cannot explain it, you can only experience it. Experience it. Right? If I ask you, what are you thinking about right now? Okay. You're you're thinking about something. Okay. That which connects you and your thought is conscious. Okay. You are there, Raghu is there, Raghu has thoughts. So what is it that is connecting Raghu and his thoughts? That is the consciousness. That bridges the consciousness. Energy is a simple thing, anything that sustains you, ability to move, okay, create, all of these things is energy. Okay. Without energy, consciousness is just dormant. Without consciousness, energy is just a non-living thing. So the combination of these two is what we call life. Interesting. So in your book, you mention about contemplation, and you mention about, I think, 5 different contemplation: trust and order, inner obstacles, acceptance and change, fear and protection, and final contemplation, that's adharma. So why is it important for us to
contemplate all this.
Let's read one by one. What's the first one that you encountered with that?
The first one was on trust and order.
If you don't trust yourself, okay, and if there is no order to your life, what can you achieve? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. And when you're not able to achieve, okay, then what is the path that you're going to take? The path of other, because you need to sustain yourself one way or the other, right? And you don't have an order, you don't have trust. So now you're like, I need to live. Okay. So you just do whatever is going to happen. Let's go to the next one.
The inner obstacles.
Now, inside, okay, all of these metrics, okay, whether it's a failed relationship, okay, not being happy with your job, all of these things, when those things are not working in your favor, are you going to be a happy person? Okay. What are you going to do when you're not a happy person?
I personally, what I do? Well, good question. What do I do when I'm unhappy? So I sit and try to meditate, close my eyes, and I see probably I'm more situational. So I look at it like what is making me unhappy, like you said, what work. I'm gonna see how can I really what am I going? I'm gonna take the ego away.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna sit and think like a third person. If someone comes and tells me the same thing, are you doing something wrong? I think about that. And then if I'm doing something wrong, how can I do it right? And I try to write it down, and then I try to reevaluate myself. This is my process.
Now, if you're not doing that, what is the byproduct at that point?
I'll be angry and throw my laptop.
And then you're going to throw words of venom at someone else.
Correct.
Okay. Now you're spreading it. And then the consequence of that, right, is going to be a factor of other. And so we have like something called Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya. Right. All of these are a road to self-destruction.
All of these?
Yes. All of these are a road to self-destruction. Kama or desire. Extreme desires, where you don't have control over your desires. Your desires overtake you. Path of destruction.
Correct.
Krodha, anger, extreme anger, path of destruction. Lobha, greed, destruction. Matsarya bhava, jealousy, destruction. Yeah. There is no other way out.
So you bring up so you bring up an important point of Matsarya, like jealousy.
Yeah.
If you take a couple, there'll always be jealousy next to it. So is that a destruction part too?
Explain how.
It's a really good question. So say I have a girlfriend and she is talking to some other guy or flirting with some other guy. So my jealousy spikes up.
I think first of all, if you have a girlfriend who's flirting with other guy,
You shouldn't have a
not be having. She should not be your girlfriend.
girlfriend.
I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. My girlfriend sees me talk to some other girl and she assumes that I'm flirting. Assumes. So the jealousy comes up. So what is that?
It means she's extremely insecure.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Because conversations happen with other women.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to talk to your mother, you're going to talk to your sister, and then you have a friend from your school or your college or someone like that. You're going to talk to her. How long is she going to try to control you? Right? It's not going to work at all. Right? And you can be with anyone, but not an insecure person. Because the nature of insecurity is that they'll rub their insecurities on you.
100% agree. But also, would it be some kind of trauma that they were cheated on, and which a partner should try to understand that and talk through it?
Maybe, but more than you trying to understand, she needs to understand and fix it herself.
It's not on you to fix it.
No. You can assist, but you cannot fix it. You can give a person a general direction, but it is not your responsibility to fix someone else's problem.
So how do you? So everybody comes with trauma or baggage or anything, and especially today's thing, like trying to not give out any personal information, just making sure. So when it comes to trauma, at least in partnerships, they expect the person should understand and help you heal through the partner, like through the traumas, like whatever the childhood trauma is or past trauma is, the ex trauma. How can you do that? Is it possible to do that?
Being there.
Just by being there?
Listening. Listening is a wonderful art. Listening is the one which cures a lot of issues in a person. right? And but don't fix the problem for them, because if you fix that problem, next problem arises. Now you're going to become someone who's always expected to fix the issue, and it's not your job. And if you keep doing that, when will you find your happiness?
So listening and validation?
Not even validation, just listening and being.
Okay.
In fact, that reminds me of Bhagavad Gita itself, right? In the entire first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna Vishali Yoga, right? Arjuna is talking and talking and talking. Krishna doesn't say a single word.
Just listens.
Yeah, just listens. Just listens. That's it. And in the final chapter, right? Before the Sanjaya Vacha, or before Sanjaya says it, right? Krishna says, all of this is my opinion. You are free to do whatever you want. Yeah. Like, this is the Lord himself.
Yeah, same.
Right. He's saying, he gives all the knowledge and he says, you do what. But I can assure you one thing, whether you do it or not, this will happen. Yeah. You're just a part of it, that's all. Similarly, whether the person is actually, going to do their actions or not, there will be repercussions to it. Yeah.
True. Not acting is also an action.
No, not taking an action is also an action.
Silence are also words.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the thing is, when they become a victim, they want you to become a personality of their victimhood. They don't know how to give a mask to that victimhood. Okay. So they want someone to listen, not just listen, but dwell. Okay. I'm not going to dwell into your past trauma. I'm listening to you, and I can tell you, hey, you might want to consider doing this, or you might want to consider going to a therapist or something like that. But don't make your problems a part of my problem. No, that's not acceptable. Yeah. If you need that, then go pray to God, or go to a therapist.
Is that selfish to say that it's your problem, not my problem in a relationship?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because the reality, it is truly their problem. Let's just take the past example. Okay, I'll give my own example. Okay? My father passed away when I was a kid. Okay, me trying to explain that to my partner, okay, or to my best friends, okay, they'll only be able to imagine the kind of suffering that I probably went through. Okay, but then for every single thing that I do, if I say, "Oh, you have to give me a Monopoly, collect your $500 getaway card because my father passed away when I was a kid," that is ridiculousness. How long will anyone tolerate that? Why should they tolerate, first of all? Events happen to everyone. Okay, it's your responsibility to fix your problem, not someone else's. Someone else's, if that is your partner, if it's the father of your child or someone like that, okay, their responsibility is to make sure that you don't bring this problem into that particular aspect of your life. Okay, but not to, just because you're crying in the bathroom, if you're expecting the person to come and sit beside you and cry along with you, now there is another beautiful verse. It's called Jogi Jogi Ka liste Budid Rali. If two sages meet, right? Nothing other than ash will fall out.
Interesting. Let's go back to the thing. So we finished the inner obstacle, the acceptance of change.
Yes. What is the one thing that is always constant?
Change.
The sooner you accept it, the lesser you have this.
True.
The more time you take to accept a change, the more is your suffering.
Change is inevitable, right?
Change is not absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing that is not changing, right, is your core true self. Stick to that.
And if everything is changing, they say that no man or woman enters the same river twice, right? It's constant change. So is there anything consistent or constant in life? Only you, the true core of you.
Yes. Nothing that is constant.
On fear and protection.
Unfortunately, the circumstances are going to create a fear pattern. The one pattern that all circumstances will create is fear. And that starts from a very early age. Very early. The first time, if you remember, a big setback happened to you in your life. What actually happened to you at that? Created a fear. Next time when you get an inkling like something like that is going to happen, very sure I'm going to avoid it. I don't want to be anywhere near that. And you want to protect yourself from situations like that, right? Now, protection not just to avoid it, but also to approach it. Because you cannot avoid anything forever. That's also not possible, right? So now you need the protection to approach it in a different way.
Hmm.
Because the problem is going to be there. The problem is not going to get solved. Your approach towards solving the problem has to change. And that is what requires that protection. And that comes from the right foundation there. Yeah.
The last one was uh, final contemplation.
Everything that you do, you have to ask a question. What purpose have I served in this situation? And what purpose is this situation serving to?
Hmm.
Right? If there is a mismatch over there, you want to get far, far away from that situation.
So there's this important thing that I always used to ask, like in every situation that I'm put into, or it could be any small, any big, or anything. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm in this stage where most of the time I used to do what is needed for that situation, and now I do what is my core self telling us the right thing to do, though it's a difficult thing to do and not an easy thing to do. Sometimes it's just, though I need it, I do what is right.
That is the right way to do it.
That is the right way to do it.
Absolutely right. All the heroes, all the idols, all the motivational speakers that you listen to, and everyone, right? But maybe some people facade in the name of it. But then the true hero is not doing what is needed, but listens to his core self and does what is required. Okay.
And in that situation, when I used to do that, if it means hurting someone, is that fine?
It depends. Because if now we have to get into the concept of gunas.
Okay.
Okay. There are three gunas. Okay. Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic.
Mhm.
Sattvic is the pure guna. Okay. Um, everything is just they just mind their business, for lack of a better word, and they stand against adharma. Okay. And then they continue to do what is the right thing. Rajasic is the one where it is dominated by ego and pride.
Mhm.
Okay. Now their feelings and their approach towards life is I have to do it. Okay, kind of a thing. Tamasic is more like inertia and negative.
Mm.
The fact is that everything, okay, in this materialistic world is a combination of all these things. Okay? Some with a high on sattvic, low on tamasic, some with high intensity on the tamasic, low on sattvic, and everything. Your role is to understand, okay, when the tamasic nature is creeping up, when the rajasic nature is creeping up, and bring it low, and then keep everything in protection. Just because you are completely sattvic also is going to hurt you. Okay.
Mm.
You need certain amount of negativity, little. Otherwise, let's just say that you're like, oh, nothing is going to happen to me. I can just go to India Pakistan border and then camp there and then just take pictures. You need because you need to have that negative mindset saying there is an element of risk, okay, and then plan and prepare accordingly. So even that is required. In fact, our DTs are also have toxic tendencies in them. Yeah. So it's nothing wrong. It's just to make sure that you have balance of these, okay? The modes of passion, for lack of a better word, right? And then realize that through unchanging self through these characteristics. That's what you call it. Yeah.
Awesome, Ranjan. Those are the questions that I had for you. I like every episode, you always blow my mind in a good way.
Thank
I
you, Ravi.
always
I love coming to your podcast, man. It's always making me think as well because you have this intensity and you have this inquisitiveness, which leads you to ask phenomenal questions.
thank you so much. And like I said, every episode I enjoy, and I've this 1 hour episode, I've learned a lot,
Yeah.
and I feel like a new person already. Thank you so much for doing
I
this.
would recommend that you read the next book as well.
I'm super excited. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna probably we'll have to do one more podcast just like this after reading this.
Yeah.
So just give me a like gist of like I understand what you're trying to say here. What are you trying to say in this book?
Awakening the sun within your heart. Okay. This one is it's Aditya Hridayam. Have you heard of Aditya Hridayam before? Okay. It's a hymn to the sun.
Okay.
Traditionally, people used to sing Aditya Hridayam or chant Aditya Hridayam first thing in the morning after they take a shower. And then just when they're doing like their Surya Namaskaras, right? They would have this contemplation thing going on in the mind. Ironically, right, even Aditi Hriday, just like Bhagavad Gita, is delivered in the middle of a battle.
In the middle of a battle.
Yes, yes. And this time, it is delivered to Sri Ramachandra Prabhu.
By
Agastya Maharshi. Because Sri Ramachandra Prabhu is in a little bit of a state of depression. When he sees Ravana and the opposing army and everything, he's in the like, man, when is this ever going to end?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot of people don't know the background of Aditya.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then he Agastya Maharshi comes in, right? And then he tells, okay, pray to the one who's always bright and always radiant. Okay. And the very first verse of Aditya, right? It starts with Tato Yuddha Parishranta, Samare Chintayas. Says Tato Yuddha, in that great battle. Okay. Samare Chintayastita. The sthiti is like chinta, it is worrisome. Okay. So when you go like without just, how do you say it, rote saying, okay, if you actually explore the every bit of word in it, word to word meaning, right, then you'll be like just taken aback. It just blows your mind, right? And so now Agastya Maharshi comes in and then he tells Sri Ramachandra Prabhu to pray to the sun and then get his draw from his energy and remove his doubt and inertia and then go on to the battle, right? Ironically, Sri Krishna Paramatma does the same thing for Arjuna in the next yuga. Okay. And the way to look at it, right, is in the Ramayana, Sri Ramachandra Prabhu is considered as Purusha. Okay. And he's like, his Shakti is taken away from him. Sita Devi is taken away from him, or his Prakriti is taken away from him, right? So now Agastya Maharshi comes in and then he says, unify your Purusha qualities with the Prakriti, that is the sun, and then go on to battle. Okay. Okay. And in the next yuga, okay, it's the same thing. Now it is Sri Krishna Paramatma coming in and telling Arjuna, okay, you have to pick up the weapon and fight this battle.
And here Arjuna is a Purusha?
Arjuna is the Prakriti.
Prakriti.
Yes, because he's like always with, with his senses like dissipated in all directions and everything. He's like, oh, my family is there, my desires are there, my kingdom and everything, right? So Krishna Paramatma comes in and is like, that is absolutely nothing. You're actually that unchanged awareness. Once you realize that, then you'll pick up the weapon again. So now it is Purusha bringing the Prakriti back to him. So it is the combination of Prakriti and Purusha that leads to success.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like when people actually know the foundation of our scriptures and then they start and reading through it, including the tattvas. In the first book itself, I mentioned about the tattvas and everything, right? You'll be able to just go so deep and intense into what we are doing. Yeah, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like how much knowledge and how much intense knowledge is there in all this. It's just, you just feel like what is that? I think I call it the stupidity curve, or there's something else to it. Like it's like when you start learning something, you're like, oh, I know, and then the more you learn, it's like I don't know anything.
Yeah.
It's that curve that goes up. That's how I feel.
I mean, all of this is truly the gift of my teacher. It's without his blessings, without him teaching me, I would have never been able to approach any of this. And not trying to blow it out of proportion, but me spending that limited amount of time in his divine grace has just opened up the doors of knowledge and happiness and consciousness and everything. Some people are just exceptional like that, right? Unfortunately, not everyone can go or find a good teacher, right? But you have to find that knowledge one way or the other, right? Either through books or podcasts or journaling or traveling, however, right? But don't just make it like another mundane activity. Go deep and go intense. Otherwise, that is worthless. Yeah.
And what is your sankalpa this time that you're going to Kashmir?
I'm going to my teacher actually. Ironically, my teacher told my sister. Right? When I say my sister, it's my teacher's granddaughter. She's like my sister, my own sister, my mother, my goddess, my everything. She's a little personification of the goddess herself, right? Told her he's going way too much in the Jnana Marga. We now have to put him towards Bhakti Marga a little bit. Because
Your teacher mentioned this too.
to my sister, saying, so now he'll be teaching me about bhakti, saying, and there's this beautiful scripture called Shiva Stotra. So that's what I intend to learn.
So what's the difference between Jnana Marga and Bhakti Marga?
Jnana is just knowledge,
Knowledge,
right? But bhakti is devotion.
Mhm.
Right? To absolutely fall in love with it, to absolutely fall in love with Shiva, right? Without any complaints, without any questions, without any, oh, I'm not feeling it today. None of it, right? Every single moment is going to become Shiva's moment at that point, right? Um, Bhakti happens to everyone at some phase of their life, but to embrace it constantly, right? That is what I am seeking. Yeah.
Very interesting. I would love to hear once you're back, like your journey towards it.
Yeah.
You're there for a couple months?
Yes. Yes. So managing work, learning, all of these things happen, but I'm absolutely thrilled, and there's something so magical about my teacher's presence. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know book was a big thing. Is there any other special thing coming from you next?
I don't know. I don't know. There was this thought that I had where I wanted to write a book. Can I reveal the
Oh
title?
yeah, for sure. Please.
I wanted to write a book called Be a Man.
Be a man.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
In which I wanted to talk about all the shortcomings
Mhm.
of our approach towards life, and how you could approach it with a more defined purpose,
Mhm.
right? Um, Starting from the early teenage where your hormones start like tricking you, all the way to that one failed business attempt that you've had. How you find that.
Can relate to it very well, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and because being a man is not about just how good you look, or how much strength you have and everything. It's about the inner strength, that composed behavior, no matter what is happening, right? So I wish to write on that, but again, it's just a vague idea for now. So let's see, because the goal is that slowly connect the concepts of Purusha and Prakriti, and then bring it in a final sequence. Yeah.
For me, that the premise that you're mentioning reminds me more of the book called Meditation by Marcus Aurelius.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
like
Like the
Stoic,
Stoic.
yeah, Stoic approach.
Yeah.
Is it something in that realm?
That would be a part of it, but then I think I'd also cover a little bit of topics on, like how to dress efficiently, dress to impress,
Mhm.
kind of a thing, because otherwise it's going to become like too much of meditation and pratna and everything. So now take it into a more of a extremely practical approach, like not mentioning anything about meditation or anything of that sort at all, but then saying, okay, you're wearing clothes, but do you know how you look in that? Do you know how you present yourself in those clothes? Are you looking at the color combinations? Is this relevant? Is this a morning time? Is it evening time? Is it like the golden hour? Do you know how you're going to look when you go face a camera in these clothes? Kind of something like that. And reading a book, right? What kind of books are you reading? Spending time on the internet? What kind of content are you consuming from the internet? These kind of things. That's what I would probably write on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I hope that comes through, and I would love to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, thank you so much, Ranjan. I
Thank you.
really, really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I always love my conversations with you. So
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, viewers. We'll see you in the next episode.